Hi, everyone. Welcome to a literacy centered podcast episode. On this episode, I'm delighted to be talking with a creative team of researchers. We're talking about the Literacies in Second Languages Project Research Lab. So I'm joined by Andres Salazar, Felipe Ocampo, and Tatiana Gómez. Many thanks to each of you for being here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. A
Thank you so
pleasure.
much for having us.
A pleasure. Absolutely. Absolutely. The four of us have a friend in common who is not here, and this is Dr. Raul Mora. So I suppose as a first question, how did you get introduced to one another, and how did you get introduced to this project?
I think that's a great question. I think if you guys want, I'll kick things off. So I actually, I'm think I'm one of the few or one of the only people in the whole team that is not from Universidad de Pontificia Bolivariana, which is like where all of the researchers are from. I'm actually external. I've been with the group since around pandemic, but I'm still rather new. So I actually have the pleasure of working with Raul as a speaker at different events and different things. And we were talking one day, and I'm a gamer. He did not expect that I was a gamer, so I'm a gamer, and I was just like, I really want to start researching. I've done a lot of things in ELT, but I'm not a researcher, and I want to learn. And he kind of took me under my wing, and I joined the project because I wanted to be a researcher. And then he was like, so which line would you be interested in? And when I heard about LAV and everything they did with gamification, I was just like in love from day one. So I've been with the team ever since. So we actually are part of a specific line of research, which is LAV. So that's what we'll get into telling you guys about a little bit later.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Well, in my case, it was a kind of some sort of bizarre way to meet Raul. It was because I also am from other college that is called Universidad Católica Luis Amigo, and I joined by other researcher member of LAV, but it was basically because some backlash that I have with my bachelor's degree presentation.
Mm-hmm.
So we get in contact with Raul and we just chat, we just met, and he proposed me that to join LAV, and I was like, well, why not try this path? Maybe I like it, maybe I not, but right now, so far so good. I love researching related to gamification and some sort of stuff like that.
Nice, nice. Andre, anything that you'd like to add on that?
Yeah, actually, it's like everyone here is like three different ways of joining here LSLP and meeting Raul. In my case, he was a teacher at the beginning of my career. He was actually like very chill at the beginning, and I had a friend of mine that he was like, "Hey, I'm going to join the research lab of Raul. Are you interested?" I was like, Not at the moment." But time passes. Later, the actual year arrived, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to join?" I was like, "Okay, why not? Sounds interesting." And actually, talking with Raul is something very useful that also for my trabajo de grado will be very interesting and very useful to have him as a person that is give me all the way to complete the process. And also that in fact I'm a gamer too, so it's like, hey, we everyone win, so let's enjoy the process and chill out with it, and that's it.
Nice, nice. I am also a gamer, although admittedly it's been a while. I actually put gaming aside when I started my PhD because I didn't feel like I would have enough time for it. But I constantly want to get back to the world of gaming and gamification and try to gamify the classroom whenever I can. In terms of literacy, what drew each of you to kind of this umbrella of literacy and the ways that we use communication, writing, creating? And we can go in the same order if you like, or if someone wants to tag in on that first, that's totally fine.
You guys want to take it? Go ahead.
I think they're looking at you, Tatiana. I think you are the leader.
For
Yeah,
the moment, I have to rethink a little.
No worries,
yeah,
no worries. I'll take it. I'll take
me
it.
too.
So,
Me too.
so
As sorry, I interrupt you a little moment. As the 20s says, ladies first.
you see. So that's actually what my chapter is actually about identity and gaming, and I think that that makes a big part of it. When I got interested, I was asking Raul, what is the group about? So he talked to me about literacy. He talked about all these other things. And to be honest, what I had researched or looked at beforehand was digital literacies. So that was like the lane that I was really interested in, just general digital literacy of teachers and how they approach integrating technology into the classroom. And that was like one of my strongest lines in terms of training when it came to like really just in class training with teachers. But when I saw what they were doing in this project with LAV, looking at it from a gamer's perspective, it was like something completely new to me. And I had to learn a lot. I had to kind of catch up because the team had already had the framework built and they had already had some steps, you know, when I got here. And we hadn't started the book yet, but it was like, there was already a foundation. So for me, it was that like seeing how digital literacy is kind of tied into specifically gamification, but the way that this research project does it is completely different from what I had seen anywhere else, where we focus on the gamer and what we can learn from the gamer, what the gamer does, and how the game motivates the gamer to keep gaming, right?
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
if all of that happens and it works, and the gamer kind of gets to that point where they just kind of want to keep playing until they win, then how can we replicate that in education? And that just struck a chord with me immediately. And I was like, okay, that's so interesting because now it's yes, we have all these gamification elements, but what is it about gaming itself, and what is it about that relationship that I have with gamer gaming that lets it keep going, keep going, keep going, become this relationship, this long-term relationship that we have with gaming. So, and how can we replicate that? So that was like my first inkling of interest that I had in it. And when he mentioned that, I was just like, okay, I want that one. He was like, you're gonna have to prove that you're actually a gamer. And then that's where it all started. But yeah, it was really cool. But I think that was it. Digital literacies kind of led me into gamification and gaming.
Nice, nice.
By my part, in my case, sorry, I just basically like start at the beginning like with my bachelor's degree process. I was like fully engaged related to video games, and I was like guided through by other teacher. I was like, well, trying to figure it out, try to focus more on applying just the game. But after I joined ALV and LSLP, I was like, well, I know now, now I know how to do it. Now I know how to apply it. Now I know, like in my heart, in my little heart of a child, of a children, how I gonna do it. Based on that, I was a gamer since 4 years old and still playing video games as a whole plan of my schedule in life. I was like, well, I never thought about this. And after I joined LFB, I see the potential, the future that it could have in teaching and research stuff related. Also, in my chapter explains a lot about basically how the teachers as a gamer can teach based on that. So it's kind of like some reflective way for me and a very good step, a big step for me in the research context, also to keep improving on that.
Nice, nice.
And last but not least, well, in my case, was actually something that, as Felipe said, is something that is involved as a child. I, in fact, have my first video game console here with me when I was like 10 years old. Now I'm 23, but I still have it because it's a treasure for me. And in fact, like this was like a gift of Christmas for all my cousins, and I am the last one that have it. So I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate video games a lot. I remember like the first Christmas of touching video games. I was playing Mario Party, like the Nintendo DS, in the living room. I was like, hey, this is something that's going to start, and it developed until the university. It's like something, it's a story, in fact, something very similar to Felipe. But I say, hey, how can I involve video games that I love? I hate love it. I play video games like for my life, everything. How to apply it? And actually, my trabajo de grado is something related with that. But it's how to help the people overcome the frightness of learning English here in Colombia. So I'm actually researching about it, and it's something very like it's a field that is uncertain. So it's something that can be good, be bad. I'm sorry for that. It's my dog. But it's something that is become very interesting. How can I become help my hobby make something that is going to help everybody? It's something that nobody thinks about it. So, for example, hey, my hobby is read or my hobby is cooking, but in fact, you're taking advantage and helping people to taking advantage of it. So it's something that is a retribution for everyone and everybody.
Love it, love it. And the dog was not coming through. I didn't hear the dog, if that makes you feel better.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
She's right here.
uh, I love the pets. They're totally welcome. I have some kinship here, but I was born in 1982. And so I remember my first gaming system, and I kind of went through. Tatiana's also representing here. I went through like a hand-me-down system of games where it was like my older brothers had Ataris, and then my cousins had like the Nintendo, the Game Boy, the Nintendo 64, and then I wound up with a Sega Genesis, and I mean, so I have a whole lineage here. I'm curious about your first gaming system before we explore a little bit more of the research side. Does anybody remember the first time you wore your thumbs out on a gaming system?
So I think I have a little bit of a different backstory from everyone else. I did not start off as a gamer. I was the little
Um,
sister of a gamer. So I grew up
nice.
also from 84. And I grew up, and when I grew up, I still have my Game Boy, which is like the only one I was kind of sort of good at. But everything else I was terrible at. So I would literally just play because my brother was playing. So then that was my thing. And I pushing all the buttons, same time, whatever happened. And that's how I used to play. Fast forward and I have my son. So my son is now 21 years old. And when he was growing up, he loved video games. Then I was like, okay, so this is a way I can connect with him so he can keep learning English, so we can use English. And that way we can, and we've been playing video games ever since he was little. So even up until now. So now he teaches me video games. And when he was little, I would teach him. But it really helped him to be able to develop the second language. So at home we would speak English, and then we would use, because we live in Colombia, so he would only speak English with me, so we would use video games as a way for him to understand and use English in a different way. And up until today, he still uses, he plays everything in English and he does everything in English. So for me, it was like that. And then I had to learn how to play video games as an adult. But the trick for me was switching to PC. I am definitely a PC gamer, and that is where I'm gonna live and thrive. And I can definitely play. And I was just like, oh, so the problem was the control. Okay, that was it. So ever since I switched over, I've been good. But I still have my Game Boy. I consider the Game Boy like my first authentic one, because everything else
Mhm.
was my brother's, and I would just play on it. And I think, like I said, I think the Game Boy is actually one that I was actually good at. So I was like, okay, this is better than the other one, and I still have it. It still works.
Nice, nice. Very impressive.
Well, in my case, it was kind of different because, well, I was the only one of my family that I was trying to consider a gamer at that time because I don't have, well, I was 4 years old. My first gaming console was the brand that the one that I married, basically that was the PlayStation 2. I
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
went through all of the consoles of PlayStation. I had also saved here the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3. Unfortunately, I had to
Nice.
sold the fourth one, but I had the PS5 here with me also. But well, it all started with my father bringing me the PlayStation 2. I freaked out when I saw the console. I was like, what is this? What can I do with that? And that's a way that I engage a lot more with my father. He was an English teacher also. And I was like, "God, I don't know how to do it, how to understand it." And he tells me the only condition that I gave you this PlayStation 2 is basically all had to be in English. And I was like, well, let's learn English.
Nice.
And that's my whole motivation, and I love this language. And also a fact about mentioning my father, he was also a student of the Universidad Pontificia Bolivariana. So I think I connected a little bit more with our some partners here about it. But regarding everything in gaming, I can basically love everything about it. It just I'm a gamer of art, basically.
Nice. Nice.
And again, last but not least, actually, I said my first video game console before. That was my Nintendo DS. And after that, I remember perfectly taking advantage of also Felipe. That also, actually, I think both of we can be very good friends. We share a lot of things of our childhood. In my case, I also had a PlayStation 2. It was a gift also of my father, but it was not something that related to English. He is an engineering assistant, and he works a lot with the database and things like that. But he gave me what it was like 11, 12 years old. I don't remember. My PlayStation 2. He gave me like, hey, this is the games and everything. We're going to play a little bit, but you need good notes in order to play. So if you are okay and you're highly organized with your school, you can play and take advantage of vacations and everything. Well, also the next one was a PlayStation 3 that I also have it at this moment. Actually, it's very functional. I have a lot of games, and it was also a gift of being having very good grades in high school. So actually, my father is here just pa- no.
Oh, your dad is there?
Me quiere saludar. No, but no, he don't want to be part of, but he gives his greetings.
No worries, no worries. This is one of the things that I often find with comics too, is there's sort of this lineage that gets passed down either among friendship groups or among family groups. And so, much love to your father there off screen, who is part of this literacy practice and this ongoing growth of literacy and storytelling. So it's a very cool thing that we get to share in.
Yeah, that's it. I'm actually taking advantage of the sometimes that our families shares with us because sometimes it happens and it makes me a little bit sad that not everyone can take advantage of that kind of that kind of situations of that share little moments with their family. So it's in
Mhm.
order also to be happy with it.
I love it because
Absolutely.
hearing them say this, and it's just like that's how my son grew up. And now my son is actually second generation English teacher as well. And he
Wow.
includes gamification and things in his classroom. So it definitely, yeah, I love hearing their experience because my son's first console was PlayStation 2. So there you go.
Nice, nice. This is the part where I say Tation drop, and I say, it's been interesting work around gaming and literacy for some time. So we can trace it back to James G. We can trace it to Ito and Horst. We can trace it to a variety of sources in new literacies and, of course, digital literacies. So I'm curious, speaking to a teacher audience, what would you want people to know that is sometimes overlooked about the richness of gaming as it relates to literacy?
So, from my end, I think it's that we can extract a lot more things than gamification on the face of it actually does. Because I remember like for years I had included gamification in my classes and I loved it and I was so wrapped up into like, yes, putting points and doing this and giving medals and boards and this. But when you start looking at it from this perspective and you start seeing how LAV and the framework really goes like that step above and beyond of just like taking gaming elements, I think that teachers can take away a lot from that. So like that gamer commitment, which ties back to, Vygotsky's like zone of proximal development, where you have to reach that sweet spot. Gaming does that. Like gaming does that naturally. So how can we replicate that and bring that over here? And how can we bring those those natural things that happen within gaming that really motivate gamers to stay and to use language to be able to gain experience, gain community, gain all everything that they need to actually become victorious. So LAV actually stands for language is victory. And I think that that's also a key thing that I would love teachers to take away. And it's what is victory? Victory is not winning. It's not simply winning the game. For me, victory could be sitting for an hour just trying to pass a level. I haven't won the game, but I passed it and I learned so much from it. So what is victory when we're participating in gaming? And if it's not simply winning a match like we would in gaming, then in language, what is victory? Is it learning the grammar? Is it knowing the rules? Is it using it? Is it communicating? Is it collaborating? Is it critical thinking? Is it all of these things? So I think our redefinition of what victory is when we set the goal for our students is one of those big things that I would also, have them walk away with. And in terms of literacies, multimodality, I think is another big one because the amount of information that gamers can recognize, identify, and then translate, and then understand, and then be able to like if they're doing like some kind of collaborative gaming, be able to get that to their teammates and relay information, not just in English, which is usually like the main language that's used, but also just the jargon that's created. So that's something that happened to me because I knew English. Like English is my first language, but when I started playing and my son was a little bit older, so that now he was playing on his own and he knew more than I did. He was they would say things and I'm like, they're speaking English. But what is that? Like, what are they saying? What does this particular word? What do you mean flank? What do you mean tank? What do you mean this? And you wouldn't understand that jargon. So I think that I think also like being able to bring that into learning, personalizing, and multimodality is huge because I think that all of that information that gamers kind of acknowledge and understand so quickly and so naturally in gaming, how could multimodality maybe help a teacher in terms of personalizing tasks or personalizing learning for their students, allowing student choice, because I think that's a huge thing. In my chapter, I talk about identity and how aesthetics and building your character can kind of bleed into not just what you're doing in the game, but who you are and what you are. And how can we bring that, like how excited, I think all of us have spent time trying to create an avatar in at least one game. And we take time and we say, no, 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 I want it to look like this and I want it to do this and I want it to be this. So what if we were able to bring something like that into English language learning where they become part of this learning process and it really becomes for them where they can personalize and use multimodality and this sounds, images, interactive so that they can actually be part of the learning experience. I think would be something. And it is possible because we've done it in lots of other ways. And if you start to correlate, you start seeing other tendencies that are already doing it. But I think that if you look at everything that gaming contains and put it all together, it gives you a new recipe. And I think that that's one of the things that we explore a lot here, because lots of these things you probably have noticed or seen in other research and in other topics in just literacies or in other related fields in ELT. But here it's like you're bringing those specific elements of gaming that with the literacies project that we have is trying to find those key things that actually make a difference for gamers. And then as gamers, how we can bring that into the classroom and then teach non-gamer teachers how they can do it, which I think is where the framework is heading as well.
That's
Also, you complemented that an answer, a proper answer here by my case, in my case, sorry. Basically, a thing that I was related to, it was with the literacies about gamification, all the stuff I didn't, like I mentioned before, I didn't know what is gamification. I just applied the system of points. I just applied many other stuff related to gaming. I was thinking, well, I can use this. I can work with that. I can track them, track their knowledge, their prior knowledge about some other stuff related, not just English. I'm a kind I'm kind of be like considered an storytelling gamer that I focus more on lore. I focus more on basic stuff about story of that specific video game. And I took that context to apply for the class to be putting in a meaningful context to them. An example, I just used Life is Strange, the Life is Strange video game, with my students about like helping with mental health and reconnecting many other ways of bullying. It was a successful research about that because my students know many ways about it, how they can help other students to surpass being bullied, and also applying that into a real life context that where they live, their neighborhood, also the stuff related to the surroundings of the school or maybe the school context by itself. Also with that, my students recognize many things about it that they don't know that what they were bullying or they are applying like they were doing some sort of bullying, but it was an inoffensive bullying. It was like a healthy, we could say like that. It was just between friends. It was no more than harassing other ones.
mm,
And also, I get like the revelation by them just reaching out at me like I feel bullied. I feel like I'm trying to work with this, trying to work with that. And when we finished that chapter, that specific chapter, that chapter was a heavy way in referring of mental health because it was like a committing of at some point that I reached a limit of almost killing himself in the video game related. So they try to find out, like exploring the video game, exploring how that person relates was her life related to many specific points like Christianism, religious stuff, all to that to help her to clarify her mind to don't commit that. And they love everything about it, and they want to learn more, and they want to apply it in many other ways in many other big games. So other stuff about literacies with that, I just always focus more on critical thinking by that. Why I focus more on that? Because I think that my students deserve, with by any means, and if that works along with video games, I will glad to do it. That is basically help them reach their prior knowledge to apply it in a critical context, to be in a critical being, not just I do this because this and this and this. No, no. I do it because it benefits to me, it benefits others, it helps me to develop myself and more stuff like that. And I think that I'm in a good way with that related.
nicely said. Nicely said. Students first, right?
Actually, I'm a little heart melted with all the stories that here they have. I don't have like a kind of hard metal story, but it's something very unique for me because, as a matter of fact, I had the opportunity to work in my like little thesis, you can say, on high school because as a, it's a high school dedicated to research. I had like I took like 10 steps of advantage in comparison of here in the first semester, single semester, because people were asking like, "Hey, what is a theoretical method? Hey, what is an hypothesis? Hey, what is the specific objectives?" So I was like with a lot of advantage, and our project, in fact, was looking for to take gamification into classrooms, as it was like in 2018 that were trendy, like the hey, video games are violent and they produce violence on everyone as well. You know, this process that every high school in US normally takes, but they usually blame on video games when they're not. There are a lot of research that shows, as a matter of fact, that is the other side. That other facts, as childhood traumas, as like they weren't able to develop themselves as people. They start to, hey, I'm going to think. They start to think like in another way that made them to take that kind of awful decisions. So our research was dedicated to, hey, video games help you. Video games can actually lend you a hand and give you like the proper things in everything. So our that was like my first process. I like, hey, the video games are not bad,
Oh,
and we actually were like approved. We got proof of the high school. Like we made like the design for a like a game, a cardboard game, in order to well take advantage of gamification, and it was actually something very good. Was something very nice of having, very nice of knowing, because nobody knows. And actually, in that time, because nowadays with pandemics and everything, a lot of people turn out into gamers or turn out into like another hobby. For example, myself, I was first of all a gamer as a child, but after that, I started to like a lot of the Japanese things. Actually, I learned Japanese. I have a third language that will be Japanese, but it's like an A2 of Japanese. But hey, it's more than nothing. Um, it's something very interesting because the way I was learning that everyone can enjoy in learning, and I want to bring up my experience as a teacher, as an English teacher, that at the moment the students were playing not necessarily like a video game, a proper video game with the console, the control, and everything, but it was something that you can play on your phone, something that you can play together in a screen. It's something that can, first of all, bring your joy, and with joy, your brain will keep that memory of learning English as something very good and will motivate you. Hey, I enjoyed the last class. I laughed a lot. I was everything very good that I want to continue and I want to continue. I want to continue something that I want to focus on. How to bring you to continue, how to bring you out of that fear to continue. It's something that is very interesting of how they overcome frightness because they laugh a lot. For example, I'm going to read you an experience. We were playing like a kind of charades. I will say kind of because was not the proper charades. And you imagine like a small size classroom where there is like one screen in order to everyone see like the content of the book, etc. So what we do is to bring up a chair into the downside of the TV, and you can see, and every week put you a character. So hey, I'm going to put you, I don't know, like a Disney character, a princess, whatever, or a movie, or an actor, or an actress. So you have to guess. And normally, that kind of game have a lot of lauders. And a shy student that normally is like, yes, but he knows a lot. Actually, he was B1 at that moment. I don't know right now, but he was B1, and he knows a lot. He actually was very good, and he laughed until he cried that time. So I was very happy of someone that is normally shy was able to laugh with me. Someone that you normally don't have like a proper trust of, hey, I can be myself. I was happy of that. He was laughing a lot. He was crying. Oh, in fact, I almost cried at that too. It was very funny because it was like a mix up that we were saying and it turned out into a joke. That was very funny. And it's something that you are going to feel in your heart of, hey, I like that class. I like learning English. Not the people that quit learning English because they hate it, for example. Normally, like the average adult, I'm not going to say everyone. I know they don't. I know there is some adults that, hey, they're going to hit me and overcome my level of English and my learning English. But there is some other, like the average adult is afraid of learning something new. Like, hey, I know this is difficult, and because it's difficult, I don't want to. But I'm not making statements. I don't want to make statements. It's to help them and make everything and show how can video games overcome your frightness. It's like something like that for me, in my case.
I love that. I think I have one more official question that's on my list, and we can hit anything that we might have missed that you want to make sure to add. But I do want to make sure that listeners have a chance to connect with your work, find out more. Are there particular places that listeners should go to find out more about what you're doing?
So we actually have a website, LSLP. So in LSLP, we have different strands of research. Language as Victory, as I said before, is one of them, but all of them are focused on literacy. So if you're interested in learning more about Language as Victory or any of the other projects that we have going on, we do have a website that you can visit. If you want, I can give you that one so you can, maybe share it at the end. But
Mhm.
on the website, we also have another like strategy that I think has helped me a lot and helped others that have joined the research project, and it's micro writing. So we actually have micro papers that are dedicated to different topics. So if you're interested in learning more, the first thing is head to the book. I mean, this is like all of our heart and soul has been put into this book so that we can put on paper what we've been doing for the past few years and kind of opening the door to what's next, because there is a next. So stay tuned for everything that's coming up. And then if you want to know even more beyond the book, you can always go to our micro papers as well on the website, be able to check out what we've written. And there's lots of things there. Like, for example, in my case, I've only written one, but I did one on gamer mom. And it's basically that, because when I told Raul the first time, yeah, I'm a gamer mom. And he's like, wait, you're what? Hold on. What does that mean? And then we got into it, and that's what the micro paper is basically about. So I think that will help a lot. But I think, to be honest, inside of the book, we have our whole story and the different types of angles that we've come up with in terms of being able to explain what the framework is and kind of deal with it from different perspectives. So when we talk about the LAV framework, so Language as Victory framework, we focus on the four distinct moments where gamers interact using language. So it could be through learning, through networking, through playing, or through identity. So all of the chapters that you're going to find kind of go through those four aspects, for those four dimensions, where we're kind of analyzing what does a gamer actually do from each one of these dimensions when they're playing. How does that correlate to literacy and to L2 and to L1 in the classroom, and how can we translate that over into practical teaching experiences that we can replicate with teachers that maybe are not gamers and don't understand what we're talking about when we say tank and healer. And I mean, even as part of our writing experience, the whole writing experience of the book itself was also gamified. Like for us, the tank was the lead author, and then we had a healer that was a supportive co-author. So literally Raul would be like, okay, you're on tank for chapter 1 and you're on healer for chapter 2, and that was our experience. So I think we have consistently gamified our whole experience. And even when pandemic struck, we used to meet up face to face, and then we transferred everything over to Discord, and Discord is our main channel of communication. And we were able to create, they were able, because they were geniuses, they created a whole environment for us in Discord where each research line has their own chat, and then each chat has their own, separate back channels depending on what you're working on and research at that moment. So you can literally have that community or that guild that you would have in a game. We have it in real life in our gaming experience, in our research experience. So I think that that's also important to mention. Like, I think that when people read what we do, that they know that it comes from gamers that are really putting their heart and soul into this, and gamers that are all teachers. Like, we're all actively teaching, we're all learning about teaching, continuously learning about teaching. So yeah, I think that's important. So those would be it. First, check out the book, of course. If you want more, go to our website, and then yeah, just understand that there's more to come as well.
Wonderful. Well, wonderful to talk with you all, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. I've been a Roll fan for many years now, so glad to connect with you and glad to share this podcast space.
I have the website lslp.org, just in case, so you can add that into the lslp.org.
Absolutely.
So wherever you can check out there are micro papers and everything else that we're working on. So
Cool. I'll make sure that that's at the end of the video, and I'll also add it to the show notes so that it's out there. And I remember talking with Raul on an episode I did with him about the micro papers. Very interesting approach there. So very cool. And now I need to get back into gaming. It's been too long.
you should. It's fun. I
It
hadn't done it
is.
for about a year and a half now, because I was like focused on other things. And just today, because of this episode, so thank you, I kind of got back into it.
Mhm.
I was like, all right, you know what? I should download my games again. And I also play Life is Strange. So I love it, love it, love it. And I'm more of a Star Wars fan and things like that, but I love Life is Strange. So very cool.
Also,
Nice,
at this
nice.
time, it's a pretty good opportunity to get back to maybe playing a few video games that are coming out, and basically, and a good ones that are total masterpiece, not just related to the gameplay itself, related to the story, related to music, related to many other stuff that the people doesn't appreciate or doesn't see like worthy enough to pay attention to it.
It's
Just
like a
again,
Mhm.
it's not about gaming. It's not about to taking a control and playing. That's it. No, for me and for many others, and I believe for AFB, gaming is more just than just playing. It's basically like our whole system. We appreciate the feelings. We recognize the music, what they are, what the feeling are transmitting, the lore itself, all the background content that the game has. It could be related to like a literature book, a
Mhm.
fantasy book, and many other stuff related to that. And also many other things that are related, for example, like literature, for example, I don't know how it's called in English, The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri.
Mhm.
There's a video game based of it that is Dante's
Yeah.
Inferno.
Yeah.
So there's
Mhm.
many ways to tell stories, many ways to feel like deep in many other cultures, like Japanese culture, Chinese culture, French culture, many others. Like just playing a video game, you get in touch with everything.
Agreed. Absolutely. Well,
And I want that. Sorry, may I interrupt you? Continue.
oh, you're good. Go ahead.
So I want also to jump in this like this vibe of gaming is not just gaming. I also feel what Felipe and Tatiana says, that this is not just something with pixels and everything. It's something else. It's something that is story and something that can tell you and you can connect. For example, recently, like the last year, I was even playing like a fighting game that is called Guilty Gear Strive, and I connect deeply with like with the host with character, because like every character, imagine that has a like the proper host, and hers is like, hey, it hit me because I feel identified. I say these songs represent me, and because it like a sensation of like I'm not part of this world, but even though I want to make a change, I want to be like, I want to get leave my footprint. And also another games, for example, like to appreciate another kind of cultures, even good or bad. I like a lot like RPGs, and there is a franchise, entire franchise that is called Persona, and it's something that even is like very animated and very exaggerated. I feel how can extract like the sensation of the what can I learn of this. For example, there is one game dedicated of life and death. There is another game dedicated into how to overcome the frightness of becoming yourself, and how to beat the old system to be yourself. It was like, hey, it's something that it feels very good to me. And as a matter of fact, also, I'm a Pokemon player. I fucking love Pokemon. I'm sorry, I excited a little bit, but my first game was my first. I actually, I'm sorry that I'm turn off my camera because there is like a lot of mess. But I think I
Oh,
can
that's
show
okay.
you. I can show you that I have my first game with me. That is something that to the Nintendo DS. Give me one moment. Hey,
Hmm?
I don't know. If, there you go. This
Oh,
this is
nice.
my first one, my first game that I ever had that is original. That is something that I finally got bought. Well, was a gift to buy of a trip because I was like at 12 years old. I wasn't able to work, but it's something that was very unique. And actually, with that game, I start to learn English because the game they didn't have an option to turn Spanish. So it was entirely English, and that's the way I learned a lot of English. I started going like step by step. What is, for example, fire? Ah, fire means fuego. Oh, what is water? Ah, water means agua. Ah, way to press. Ah, means presionar. So it's something that was feeling very unique, that it become attached to the entire franchise, even though that nowadays the franchise is not doing very okay with the video games and the reviews, but I'm still loving it. Um, it's something that it feels very special because you can feel stories, you can feel characters, you can feel when someone or a lot of a group put their soul on it. For example, I don't know if have you heard before of Expedition 33?
I don't know that I have.
But well, it's just actually it's just break out and being something very new because they become like a new genre. Become because they is like FRPG. Normally there is like this subgenre that is called GRPG. That is like Japanese role player game. That is like the franchise of Persona, Final Fantasy, etc. And they later become like, because they're from France, and it was very unique. It was very actually, you should hear the music. The music is absolutely perfect. This is a masterpiece. That you feel everything that is going to chill out your spine and everything. That it was something very, 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 very special.
It's nice. Love the interconnection there, and I love that we can all point back to sort of like video game artifacts that were our entries, and entry points, and love that the game systems are still there and they're still working.